Welcome into the NBA Morning Deuce, the podcast that just moves a little different over here. You know, it's Monday. the facial expression by my co-host, who shall be named momentarily. Welcome into the NBA Morning Deuce. Big day of NBA preseason action to get to. Alex, I know you not super happy with me saying the podcast that just moves differently over here. I saw that.
I forgot you had mentioned you were going to do that. And it caught me off guard and rubbed me the wrong way just because Kyrie keeps just stepping in his own shit. Is that a phrase?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
It works regardless.
I don't know if that's the phrase, but it plays.
Okay.
We'll take it. So NBA preseason action continues tonight. The game we really had our focus on was the Heat and the Pelicans. We will get to that. As we are recording this, the Jazz and the Suns are playing. Chris Paul made his debut for the Suns tonight. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The first thing we want to start, though, we'll get to some off the court headlines as we do. So we'll talk about some of the off the court stuff from the day, and then we will do our NBA recap for the night. So we'll start with the James Harden situation. So a lot of stuff actually came out. Weird amount of reports coming out specifically today, probably because today was Harden's real sort of first day practicing with the Rockets, and all this stuff starts coming out now involving him. So essentially all the report that came out today is that despite him being back, despite him working out with the team and all that, James Harden still wants out of Houston, but intends to be professional with the Rockets. What that means, I don't really know, but he supposedly will be playing basketball tomorrow night against the Spurs in their second preseason game. Supposedly it has nothing to do with John Wall. It's nothing against him or any of that. He has his mindset, and that he still prefers the Nets or the Sixers. The Rockets have, I guess, been in touch with those two teams, but nothing has really progressed. Another report came out from multiple places I've seen that the Rockets actually never really wanted Kyrie Irving, which I think we kind of talked about this on the show, which was why would they want Kyrie for James Harden? It didn't really make sense. Why wouldn't they want more of the role players? So they actually want young guys and picks. The Rockets don't want Harden. But again, nothing has truly been discussed there. And then coming out down here in South Florida, this is all a bunch of stuff all on the same day, is that despite what everyone's been saying over the last couple weeks, if James Harden was available and the Heat decided to make a deal for James Harden, that Tyler Hero is not off the table by any means. So there's all that. Now you talk about basketball.
I'm just having so much trouble trusting any of these reports. There's so much out there. Why? Who was the outlet? I mean, I trust that you know a lot about outlets in South Florida, but why would one outlet? How could the Miami front office have let that slip? Do you know?
Barry Jackson is the guy down here who's reporting the stuff about Tyler Hero and the Heat. He's a reputable guy down here, so to speak, and he supposedly has stuff. I believe I saw the man who knows about basketball, Adrian Wojnarowski, tweet something along these lines too about Hero.
Okay.
And
I buy it. Yeah.
And Zach Lowe on his podcast almost laughed when he said there's no way Tyler Hero would be off the table in this. He was basically just his line was players like James Harden don't become available, so you don't make players untouchable. If you can get other than I guess for the Heat would be Jimmy Butler and Bam, but
right. No, I buy it. Yeah, it would be crazy to be he's untouchable when you're talking about the leading scorer in the NBA who's still very much in his prime, and your title window is wide open. So I buy it. I just there's so much stuff coming out. I just wonder, like, I'm trying to figure out what to really value and what I can throw away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the thing that is so fascinating about this is that he's going to play tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And we're sort of talking about this before we went on the air, which is that's probably one of the most anticipated preseason games ever. Like, I think, like, did Zion play last year in the preseason? Like, that was probably anticipated.
He got hurt in the preseason. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. I think, like, who else? Like LeBron, like certain guys, but I think just for like a non-rookie or like a guy playing on a new team, this is a very highly anticipated preseason game just to see, like, what's he going to do? Like, what if he goes out and just takes 53s and he just, like, doesn't run the offense and just goes out and shoots it every time he touches the ball? There's so many, like, I was saying, like, what if he goes out, nails a 40-footer, and then just walks off the court?
It'd be hilarious given the fact that he says he's going to do this professionally. He intends to be professional.
Right, but also just a week
awesome.
ago, it was all just like how everyone doesn't mind getting uncomfortable. So,
Right.
you know, it would be the ultimate power move to be like, I don't mind getting uncomfortable, or I'm going to be professional, and then be doing the most unprofessional thing you could possibly do, like walk off the court in it during a game.
I'm just imagining that, like, the Sixers front office and the Nets front office, like, having their offers out there and seeing that and being like, hold on, hold on a second. Is this guy a total head case? That would be hilarious. The other thing you just said, like, is he going to run the offense? Like, how can he run the? He sounds like he hasn't even spoken to his coach. So, like,
that I wouldn't be super concerned about that.
he's going to run his James Harden offense, which we know is effective. But
it's going to take. This guy's been in the NBA forever. He's an MVP. He goes to the play. He's gonna be fine. Like, whatever they're running, nothing's going to be super complicated. He'll be able to catch up instantly. Like, in a perfect world, he plays tomorrow night, and my guy Steven Silas impresses him so much that he's like, okay, I'll give it a chance. That would be my perfect scenario, because I'd like to see what Silas can do. Like, watching their first couple games, they look like they could be pretty exciting, the way they defend and the way they're still chucking up everything.
That's what I was wondering, was maybe he has had a little bit of change of heart, just given how healthy. I mean, we know, like, it's preseason, you can't take that much away from it, but just seeing Cousins and Wall healthy, maybe he's like, okay, I'd rather be in Brooklyn, but it does seem like we've got something going here. I don't know
Apparently
if that's possible.
that's not what he's thinking, because according to all the reports today, he has seen them and doesn't matter. He still
Right,
wants
but
to
why
return.
would he suit up? Just to avoid fines, I guess? Or
Probably, yeah. I mean, I think you have to save face a little bit. Like, if you want to be traded, if you want teams to come after you, you probably need to play games.
Yeah.
And not be a total idiot. So it'll be interesting. I just, the whole Miami thing is fascinating to me because of fit, culturally, play. I mean, as a player, I think he'll figure out. You fit a guy like that, it doesn't matter. He's so good. But even just like, I think part of the article by. There was another article, I think it was Kurt Heelan, who just sort of was talking about how he's, like, notoriously loves going out and being in the club, and, like, which is fine. I don't care. You do whatever you want. But, like, it's just so opposite of the culture of the Heat organization. So it would be such a weird fit. Mm-hmm. But, again, I think also if you're if you're any team and you see that Pat Riley is willing to entertain the offer, then you're probably not worried about it. Like, if you're the Nets or the Sixers or anybody, if you're looking down in Miami and you're like, oh, Pat Riley is willing to trade for him? Okay, yeah, we'll give him a shot too. Like, that's the bar. That's the bar. Right. If he could play, if they could take a chance on him, we could take a chance on him. And it's not like you're taking a chance, right? You're also, by the way, regardless of attitude or how he is as a person or whatever is off the court stuff, you're still getting, I mean, a top 2 or 3 scorer maybe ever in the game right now. Like,
you're still increasing your chances of winning a title. I truly believe that.
Absolutely, no question.
Especially
the teams that he wants to go to.
Yeah. The other weird thing to me here is why are the Nets not trying like, this deal should be done already if you're the Nets. You should have blown them away with essentially whatever they want. Like, if you can pair Kevin Durant and James Harden together right now, how are you not unquestionably the best team in the East? Like, right away, you know? This guy wants to go there. Like, offer him every first-round pick you possibly can, LeVert, Allen, and Dinwiddie, and just get it done.
I actually would say if there was a team that should be the most concerned about fit just from a personnel standpoint, it's the Nets because of Kyrie Irving.
Right? Yeah, I guess their eggs are still in the Irving. That's probably the real difference. Is that I think Kyrie Irving is so far beneath James Harden. Yeah, like that shouldn't even be on your radar if you can upgrade your team with James Harden. Like,
yeah. All right, let's talk about the starting point guard for the Nets. He addressed the media today after saying, or after everybody sort of implied that he wasn't going to address the media and all this stuff and whatever. For those, I'm not going to play any of the audio from it because I think we've pretty much established on the show we can't take him. It's hard to listen to. But I would suggest, because there's headlines all over Twitter and all over the internet that just basically like sort of recap what he said. My suggestion to anybody who gives a shit, go listen to it. Because when you actually listen to him, you hear an asshole. Like, he sounds pretentious. He doesn't sound sincere about anything he says. And he sounds, as always, like he's trying to be the smartest guy in the room. And also, every time someone asked him a question, he said by name, like he repeated their name. He's like, thank you so much for your question. Really appreciate you asking that question. Like, it was so blatantly, like almost condescending, it sounded like he was trying to be overly nice to the media after everything that went on. But even in the first fucking question was just like about how do you feel and this and that. And he's like, I play on a team, full of really talented, high IQ guys. It's really, it's really great to be in a place like that. Like implying that he wasn't in a place like that before. Like even if he didn't mean to, that's an immediate shot at the Celtics, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. Well, and if he's as smart as he makes himself out to be, then obviously he would realize how that's perceived and taken. Like, he always seems so confused why people are painting him in this light, or like, it's the way he speaks. It's just that simple,
Yep.
It's just tiresome. He just is who he is. I'm not surprised by this. It's just, this is Kyrie Irving. This is the point guard for the Nets.
Yeah. And then he didn't apologize for the pawn. So he brought up the pawns comment, but I don't talk to pawns. And he, in his own way, basically sort of implied that it wasn't about the media, but he never really implicitly was like, it's not about report. Maybe he did. I don't know. Maybe I just was so frustrated listening to it that I kind of missed that. Maybe I missed that part of how he explained it. But I will say to the media who were there, and you kind of said like maybe they asked him not to talk about this or whatever. I don't really give a shit, right? Like, all of the media that comes out and is frustrated, Kyrie Irving called us pawns, Kyrie Irving this, Kyrie Irving that. And the first question is not about him saying, I don't talk to pawns. And not only that, not one person even said the quote in one of their questions. The first question should be, hey, Kyrie, good to see you. Thanks for talking to us. Wasn't sure if you were going to talk to us this year, so it's really great to see you. By the way, good game last night. Good to see you back in a Nets jersey, blah, 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 blah. But I'd be remiss if my first question to you wasn't, hey, on Friday, you put out a statement that said I don't talk to pawns. Do you care to clarify?
Yeah, 100% should have been.
The fact that wasn't the first question is like, well, then fuck it. Then Kyrie, then they're basically saying like, yeah, say whatever you want about us, do whatever you want.
Right.
I don't understand.
They're
I
acting
don't get
scared.
Yeah. And then they're gonna. And then the guy's like, he's trying to clarify all this stuff. He's like, I was just trying to make a safe space, because I see how artists are treated, and I just want a place for my artists and where I want to be able to do my art. And what are you talking about, dude? Like, what are you talking about?
It's so tiresome.
I want to do my art. Look, man. I love basketball. It's beautiful. I love the game. It's beautiful. Watching good basketball is a beautiful thing to me. But you just sound like such an asshole when you're like, I want to be able to practice my art, make a safe space for me to practice my art. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
This is how I was like a month ago when I was probably too bold in saying he wasn't going to be a net by the end of the year. But I'm so done with this guy, and I'm seeing the anger and frustration that you're at right now. I was at when he said the world was flat. That's when I was like I was like, I can't believe what this jackass is saying. And now I'm just in the whatever, Kyrie. Just I know who you are and what you're about. It's just ridiculous.
I can't take it. It's driving me nuts.
I can see your face.
And the thing
is so frustrated.
It's never going to end because it's just going to be every night. Every time he addresses the media, he's going to say some stupid, pretentious bullshit.
And the Nets are about to be awesome this year, so there's he's going to be.
And it's not because of him.
Right.
Like he's very good.
Yeah.
There's no denying his talent level. I mean, and you could never deny that. Oh, he also took back. I'm doing air quotes for the listeners. He took back his "we don't need a head coach" comment because they asked him about Steve Nash, and he basically was like, "Yeah, maybe I should take back my comments about what I said." Okay, cool.
Yeah, or maybe you just should have never said it in the first place because it was dumb.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. It just drove me crazy. I'm whatever. All right, let's talk about tonight's games, or the Monday night games. So let's do our nightly recap. We had the Heat playing against and the Pelicans.
I can't. Anybody listening who's just listening to the audio, you got to go to YouTube. I mean, the stuff we're doing on here it's top shelf comedy.
It's kind of like next level content creation.
It's so high bar. It's so meta. Like that picture, special.
Yeah. All right. So obviously it's still preseason, so the score doesn't matter. But in case you cared or bet it, which I was actually kind of surprised to see that you could bet these preseason games.
If they're playing it, you can bet it, Joey.
I know, but why would you ever bet a preseason NBA game?
Usually because you have an illness. Honestly, that's the only reason.
That's fair. I also have the wrong score in this graphic, so I'm going to take that down. Pelicans won 114-92, which obviously doesn't matter. Should we talk from the Heat perspective or from the Pelicans perspective first?
Let's go Heat first because maybe we can button some things up in terms of James Harden, Tyler Hero.
Sure.
That sort of thing.
Well, Tyler Hero is a stud.
That's what I was going to say.
And he finished with 17 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 7 of 14 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3. Basically, he picks up right where he left off. Yep. Just looking like an absolute potential all-star.
So I feel like I probably said this once or twice during the playoffs, but I felt it for sure. Watching him in the playoffs, and especially later in the playoffs, I just kept waiting for him to for him to wake up from the, it's like, okay, he's good, but there's no way he's this good, right? Tyler Hero is not this fucking good. And then he just never stopped, I think he maybe had one really bad game in the finals, whatever, it happens. But this is what we saw in the playoffs is who Tyler Hero is. That was not a hot streak. That was this guy's the real deal. And it's one preseason game, but he's just looked so in control. His pace, he was 2 for 7 from 3. I mean, it's whatever. The stats. When you're watching the guy play, he's a stud, flat out. He might be an all-star this year.
Well, 2 of 7, 7 of 14 from the field is even better when you see that he was 2 of 7 from 3. This just means he's scoring from all over the place, and he is. I mean, he gets to the rack. He has a mid range. He can score at all 3 levels, which is very rare, especially in today's NBA mid range. A lot of guys can't score off the dribble in the mid range, so he does a lot. Duncan Robinson also 4 for 8 from 3, 14 points. Just start picking up right where they left off. The Heat. And by the way, we should clarify, Jimmy Butler, Goran Dragic, Andre Iguodala, Kelly Olynyk all did not play for the Heat. And Eric Bledsoe and JJ Redick really the only ones who weren't playing for the Pelicans. But Yeah, back to the Heat. It's become a pretty contentious topic down here on whether or not the Heat should trade or should put Tyler Hero up, make him available in a trade, which is interesting because I think anywhere else in the country, people are like, "What are you talking about? It's Tyler Hero but Hero." I've been saying this for a while now. Like, I think his ceiling is a lot higher than I think people give him credit for, and maybe a controversial take here, but since we're not doing a million streams at the moment, I'm just going to say it. If he looked different, his ceiling would be higher. I think because of the way he looks, because he looks like a 15-year-old white boy. I think there's a lot of people who are like, this guy can't be this good.
Well, I definitely have. The prejudice, what I just described was kind of that prejudice, where I'm just like, he's not this good, right? Yeah. And I don't think I'd be saying that if he was.
Look, and historically, and this isn't even controversial. This is just the truth. It's particularly in the past 20, 30 years, since I guess Larry Bird, right? White Americans in the NBA are just not like superstar level. I mean, like, maybe Gordon Hayward was kind of a superstar in Utah, and then he got his deal and then he got hurt and he fell off. Maybe you could have considered Kevin Love like a superstar. But when we're talking about, potentially trading somebody for Harden, you're obviously talking like a guy who can maybe be a core piece for your team. And I think Tyler Hero's ceiling is higher than either of those guys. But just generally, so you take that into account, and he looks like a child, and he's not huge, and he's kind of skinny still. So I think there's things where you look at him and you're like, his ceiling can't be James Harden, and you're probably right, because how many people's ceiling is James Harden? But I think his ceiling is a lot higher than maybe what people think. And while you probably still make the deal to get James Harden, I don't think it's that easy, especially for, like we say a million times, especially for a team that was 2 games away from winning an NBA championship, and he was such a huge piece of that. Mm-hmm. It's not that easy. It's really, I don't think it's as easy as everyone thinks it is, even though probably 99 times out of 100 you trade what you got to trade to get a guy like James Harden. I just think people around the country that are not as tuned into the Heat and only watch him for a little bit in the playoffs probably think, well, he's not, like you said, not as good as he was. The ceiling's not that. I think the ceiling's a little bit higher than people realize.
Definitely. And timing is definitely a huge thing here too. Like, if you do the deal and you get James Harden, you increase your chances at a title in the next 3 years by a lot. I truly believe that. But I think you decrease your chances at multiple titles over the next 10 years because James Harden's at the end. Like, James Harden doesn't have 10 years left, Tyler Hero might be a multi-time All-Star in the next decade. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So trading for James Harden makes you better and makes your chances at a title better. It doesn't guarantee you a title. It absolutely does not guarantee you a title in the next 3 years. And not saying that keeping Tyler Hero guarantees you a title in the next decade, but you're going to be fantastic for the next 10 years if you keep this guy on board with Bam Adebayo. And
well, I think that the thing you have to keep, the thing then when you look at it like that, the thing that you really have to consider is, again, are we looking at the next 10 years, or do we think that getting James Harden gives us a title in the next year, too?
That's what I'm saying. It does not guarantee it in my mind.
It doesn't guarantee, but nothing is guaranteed.
No, but I'm saying it doesn't raise it to the point where you're like the Lakers are too good right now. You know what I mean? Is that?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Right. But does it mean that you're going to the finals every year for the next 3 years?
Oh, it definitely increases your chances of being a title team. No doubt about it.
But I will say this, and I think we both agree on this. Watching Kevin Durant, I don't think that there's any team that's guaranteed to beat the Nets over the next few years. Like if he looks like that, not that they're the favorite to be in, but I don't think you could say anybody has a better chance of making it to the finals than them. Mm-hmm. Like getting past the Nets, even if you get James Harden in Philly or in Miami, getting past Kevin Durant and that Nets team is going to be very, very hard for a few years as long as he stays healthy. Mm-hmm. Okay. On the other side, we had the Pelicans. Oh, by the way, for the Heat, I will say this: Bam Adebayo looked fine. He looked good. He had a play in the, I think it was either in the second or third quarter where he dove for a loose ball.
I
just
audibly gasped. It was nuts.
I was just like, dude, I get it, man. I love you, Bam. I was the one beating the drum before the playoffs last year that this guy was a max player, going to be a household name and all that shit. We know how good you are. You don't have to dive on the floor for a loose ball like that. And especially the way he dove, he landed on the ball. Mm-hmm. He had a shoulder injury 2 months ago. Like, it just why? You don't need it.
I know. I like it in the sense that I know he couldn't help himself because he's that competitive. You know what I mean? Like, he's not out there making business decisions. He's in the game. He sees a loose ball. He doesn't have time to think, oh, I shouldn't dive for that. He's a competitor. I know it sounds cliche and corny, but it's true. Like, if some guy were like able to be like, whoa, wait, it's preseason, I'm not going to dive for that ball. Like, that tells you something about his competitiveness.
But if he didn't dive for the ball, you wouldn't have noticed.
No, I'm just saying.
Why did he dive for that ball?
You're right, but I'm just saying the fact that he did dive for it isn't a bad decision. It's just he's that competitive. He can't help himself.
Right. Mo Harkless and Avery Bradley both debuted for the Heat. Mo was obviously in a very tough situation in his first game, having to guard Zion most of the time he was on the floor. Avery Bradley looks like neither of them lit the world on fire. Mo fouled out in 14 minutes, but they'll be fine. Precious Achua had 8 points in 20 minutes. He looks like he'll be decent energy guy for them. Okay, Pelicans. Zion is just I hate watching Zion play, but he just keeps 26 and 11 in 33 minutes. He's so efficient. You know what? You know why he's unstoppable?
Is he so goddamn strong?
No. Well, yes. Oh, also all the pictures that came out where it's like, oh, Zion looks like he lost weight. No, he's
huge.
He's a fucking monster, dude. Like, that dude did not lose weight, or if he did lose weight, then he lost weight in certain places that are not noticeable in an NBA court because he is a fucking monster. He is so athletic, and he has such body control for that size, and he's able to move in the air. So every time he drives, he never takes off at the restricted area, or he never goes up at the restricted area. He usually takes off in the middle of the paint or further back. So even if you step up to try to defend him, he's in the air and he moves around you in the air.
It really is cartoonish almost.
It's crazy. It's so nuts. So it's impossible to guard because in a similar way to when Giannis gets in the paint, he's so long that when he goes up, he's able to put his arm under you and just scoop it in. Zion does that because he stays in the air for so long and moves his body around and is able to finish. And he's got great touch at the rim. It's the only way I can. It's the only way I can explain why he's able to get 26 points on 13 shots in 33 minutes, because the rest of his offensive skill set is not great yet. He can't shoot. He really only drives left, and when he drives right, he spins back left. He doesn't have a pull-up game. He doesn't have a catch and shoot. He literally has two things offensively. He has a left-handed drive to the basket, and he has offensive boards. But he is so good at those two things that he's dominant. And now, again, was being guarded by Mo Harkless a lot, who is a lot smaller than him. So that's one thing. Also, as we've discussed, Brandon Ingram's a fucking stud. And having Brandon Ingram as your partner in that duo takes a lot of the pressure off Zion to allow him to do the things that he's great at, because Brandon Ingram is so good.
Yeah. Teams are going to have an extremely hard time staying out of foul trouble against this team because Brandon Ingram's a totally different style, but he's long, and if you're going to play hard defense against these two guys and go balls out on defense, you're going to end up getting fouls called on you just because Zion is a brick shithouse that can jump higher than you, and Brandon Ingram's so absurdly long. So if you want to try to block his shot, you're gonna put yourself at risk for foul trouble. this is a really tough team to defend, I think, without getting in foul trouble. But these two, every time you bring up Zion, I start laughing because you just can't put your finger on what you don't like about watching him. And I kind of get it. It's not like we just talked about Kyrie, like basketball is beautiful and that sort of thing. It's really not with him. It's like there's bull in a china shop.
Yeah, there's nothing beautiful. I mean, the only thing that's beautiful is the beautiful thing about Zion's game is the human body and what it's capable of doing because he's just so unique. I mean, it's 6'6", 600 pounds, but also the most athletic. He's like it's like watching Aaron Donald with a 50-inch vert. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's actually really true because Aaron Donald doesn't make sense either when you watch him, the way he moves. Yeah,
but it's like watching a defensive tackle or a defensive end who just is such a freak, but then also is also like the most explosive leaper in the history of the most explosive game. Mm-hmm. like
it really is ridiculous.
But so because of it, he's in the things that he is good at. He's probably going to continue to be dominant at those things, like around the rim, taking off, dribbling. I mean, it's going to be hard to stop him because also, you know, when he's driving, he's so big that if you touch him, you're going to get called for a foul. It's not like the Shaq situation where Shaq would get called for offensive fouls because he was posting up and banging. Like Zion's this giant who's flying through the air, and people are just going to
elusively,
But also, people are just going to like go flying off of him. Mm-hmm. But when he's the one like jumping, if they're not in charge position, they're going to get called every time because it doesn't take. I mean, like it doesn't take much to go flying when he touches you because he's such a massive. So he's going to get what he took. He went 10 of 11 from the free throw line, which is incredible. If he does that, it's going to be tough for any team. Yeah,
he's gonna if he's shooting even 85% from free throw, which is a tall task, he's definitely going to average close to 24, 25 points a game. I seriously believe that.
Unbelievable. I also say this: he didn't have any blocks tonight against the Heat, but I actually think getting Steven Adams is going to make life. Again, the thing they've done now is, with Brandon Ingram and Steven Adams, they've gotten two guys that take a lot of the burden off of Zion to do the things that he can't do defensively and offensively.
It's true.
So all the things that he can't do offensively, Brandon Ingram takes care of that. As a 6'6" forward, the things that you would want a 6'6" forward to do that he can't do, that's fine. We got Brandon Ingram. As a 6'6" forward, all the things that he can't do defensively, it's fine. We have Steven Adams now. He's a rim protector. So now all Zion has to worry about is guarding his man, weak side shot blocking, which he's going to do. He's going to be coming out of nowhere and blocking shots. He's going to average a couple blocks a game potentially, and rebounding.
Yep.
Like they put him in a really good position to succeed. By the way, JJ Redick didn't play, who's their best shooter. So that's going to open things up even more. This team might be better than I thought. I thought they'd be okay. Mm-hmm. I thought they'd be okay, but I think we both thought they took a big hit losing Drew, but obviously it's an overreaction and it's preseason, but that's what we do in the preseason. But those two guys together, I could see like midway through the season, couldn't you see them being in the consideration with all these duos in the NBA, like one of the best duos?
I do. I absolutely think that, yeah. You made a fantastic point about Zion Williamson, just like the pieces around him. Like, he just has to do everything well, and then he always has those two things that you mentioned that he's going to be probably the best in the league at. Like, just right now, physicality around the rim. Yep. It's just off the chart. So he just has to be solid in the other areas, and he's going to be fantastic.
It's pretty funny, right? When you have a guy who has extreme limitations, but you build a team around him in the right way to accentuate the other aspects of the thing, to accentuate the things with other guys that he doesn't do, how good you could be. And I mentioned this to you specifically because I've been saying this about Ben Simmons. Now, obviously, they're different.
There's a big difference. Yeah.
No, they're different. But Ben Simmons is still a 6'10" point guard with incredible vision, and he is a killer at scoring around the rim, and he can, like, there's a lot of things he can do that if you built the team around him the right way. I'm just saying. I think this is, we don't have to get into that.
I have to respond.
No, we don't have to get into that. But I'm just saying this is another example of the same way teams LeBron's teams have done it, and to an extent, Giannis, they've done it for Giannis a little bit. They're doing it now in New Orleans. Like, obviously, this guy has limitations, but they are putting together a roster around him. But another guy who I really liked last year, but I think fell out of the rotation just because he was young and streaky. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is an absolute gunner. Like, he's one of these guys who's going to come off the bench like every couple games, and he's going to get you 20 because he shoots it every time he touches the ball.
His form is beautiful, too.
He's got like some J.R. Smith in him. I don't know about his wildness and stuff like J.R., but just in terms of his game, like he has this like, I'm shooting it. This ball comes to me, I'm shooting it, and I might go 1 for 10, but I also might go 10 for 10.
Mm-hmm. Guess what? That shit can win you a game like a couple times a year, you know? It's probably not the greatest thing come playoff time, but I'm with you. I love that type of player.
Oh, our guy at AB Gaming is back. What's up, AB Gaming? Okay, respond quickly about the Sixers. I don't want to get too
super
bogged down.
Okay, so the biggest difference to me between Zion and Ben Simmons is Ben Simmons' refusal to grow the worst part of his game, where I'm absolutely 100% confident Zion Williamson is working on the weakest parts of his game.
Okay, I'm not going to respond to that. I don't want to respond to that. All right, Raptors, Hornets. Raptors, again, win 112-109. Doesn't matter. Fred VanVleet. So here's this is one of the things where, like, again, it's preseason, so Kyle Lowry still hasn't played. But I think for the Raptors to be good, this is kind of, VanVleet was ridiculous in this game, like scoring the ball, 9 of 12 from the field, 5 of 7 from 3, 23 points. I think they're going to need that from him to be good this year. And I don't know that you could count on that every night from Fred VanVleet.
No, not when he's playing against a really good defender, like a point guard defender, you know?
Yeah. He's so small. He's so small.
He's alarmingly small. Yeah, if you don't see him for a while, and then you're like, oh, yeah he's really, really small. He's not gonna go 5 for 7 every night, you know?
Mm-hmm. On the other side, the more interesting team to me is the Hornets. And the other night we talked about LaMelo a little bit, or last night we talked about LaMelo a bit, but we didn't really talk about their first game, just in terms of their last time they played against the Raptors. I texted you the first night of preseason, or the first time these two teams, because this is their second time playing each other, watching the game, and I said, it's probably not great for the Raptors that I'm watching Raptors Hornets, and the guy that I would take hands down out of these two teams is Devontae Graham. And I kind of feel the same way after watching a little bit of this game again. Devontae Graham's a stud, and this team is fun to watch. Again, really young, almost certainly not going to do much in the East, could potentially be a playoff team. But Devontae Graham and LaMelo Ball, which will eventually be their starting backcourt, they're fun. Like, LaMelo makes everything more fun, and Devontae Graham is really, really good.
I know that you're a lot higher than I am on LaMelo Ball, but I'm not like against. I agree with you. I definitely don't think they're a playoff team unless Gordon Hayward gets back to what he was in Utah. Yeah,
he looks good,
but he needs to sustain that for the. He needs to be super consistent and healthy this year. But yeah, dude, you said it. Before the show, Devontae Graham might have the most team-friendly contract in the league. I don't even think that's arguable. Yeah. What he brings is crazy. He was 1 for 7 from 3 tonight, but I mean, what did he do in the first game? He was really, really good in the first game, I believe. He's just a solid-ass player,
but his shot is so good. He's another guy who kind of scores in all levels. He can handle the ball. He was probably more of a point guard coming in, but now he's established himself as a 2 guard. DSN D-Rain, I do remember you. Thanks for watching the show. But Devontae, here's the thing about LaMelo. It's weird because I am high on what I've seen, and he went 3 for 3. No, sorry, not 3 for 3. I'm looking at the wrong thing. He went 2 for 6 from 3 tonight. He made 2 threes. The first game, you were shocked he didn't score in the first game, and then in the second game he had 12. And I said, this is just what you're going to get with LaMelo. You're going to have some games where he gets you 15, 16 points, and you're going to have some games where he gets you 3 or 4 points because his shot is not good. No. His first 3 he made, I don't think he jumped. It looked like a set shot. It comes from the left side of his body and comes across his body. It's not. It's kind of ugly.
Takes a long time to get up there too.
But I also did say this to you, and this might be a hot take. It might not be. I think he might be a top 5 passer in the NBA right now. He sees the floor. It's unbelievable. He sees the floor. He goes up and gets. I talked about it yesterday, so I don't have to go crazy with it. He gets the ball in defensive rebound, gets it out in transition, alley-oops, just sees everybody. And they have so many shooters now. Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier, for as much as people kind of, they'll hate on him a little bit. He was a great three-point shooter for them last year. He'll be a good player when he doesn't have to be the starter. Devontae, obviously, they have. I mean, P.J. Washington's good. Like, they're going to be fun to watch, and they're going to make a little bit of noise, I bet, because they're going to be competitive. And a lot of that is because LaMelo is just exciting.
I'm with it. I'm not going to argue top 5 passer. I mean, the highlights I saw, the fact that I didn't notice after watching his YouTube highlight video from game 1, I didn't notice that he didn't score. I didn't notice the highlight didn't have a bucket because his passing was so ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, we might be at the end of the season being like, yeah, he's obviously a top 5 passer. It's impressive in that regard for sure.
Yep. Bucks Mavericks played again tonight. Mavs win 128-112. Porzingis still hasn't played. Luka had 27. Let's see. Giannis had 24 and 14. Nothing too shocking from this game. Obviously, I like the Bucks bench. I think the Bucks are going to be fine. I like the Drew Holiday addition from what I've seen. I think they're going to be good. The one thing that stuck out to me from the Mavs in this game is Josh Richardson. I think we did talk about this a little bit. Josh Richardson is going to be much better for the Mavs than he was for the Sixers because of the expectations, right? When he went to Philly, the expectation was he's going to replace Jimmy Butler. Now the expectation is he's replacing Seth Curry. And he's just another – and he's also replacing DeLon Wright, who is a huge bust for them. So he's just another scorer. He shot 5 of 6 from 3. He fits next to Luka, so they can both play on or off the ball. I like it. There's not a lot to break down from this game with these two teams because we know what they are.
Right. We know the good players, how good they are, So it's not like anybody's shocking us right now.
And they didn't make any massive changes. I mean, obviously Milwaukee made huge changes by getting Drew Holiday, but we know what Drew is. There was no real concern over what Drew would bring to the table. What's the next one? Where should we go next?
Let's go Minnesota-Memphis.
Minnesota-Memphis. Grizzlies win 124-104. Ja Morant had 17 and 7. Jonas had 22. D'Anthony Melton entered the starting lineup for Grayson Allen, Grayson Allen off the bench 4 for 8 from 3. That's huge for them if he can figure out anything because he's a decent player. He struggled. This kid Desmond Bane, I don't know if you watched their highlights I haven't watched any of their full games. I watched some of their highlights. This kid Desmond Bane was the best shooter, one of the best, if not the best shooters in the draft. And I know he only went 1 of 3, but I think he shot better. His shot is smooth, man. He's gonna be in the league for a long time the way he shoots the ball.
That's a great little piece for the Grizzlies if he pans out. I mean, I just think I don't know. I don't want to speak for her, but I'm forgetting about Jaren Jackson. Honestly, if he's not that far off, I know he had a very concerning injury. If Jaren Jackson comes, they have 2 really under the radar pieces to be, I think, way ahead of schedule in terms of when people thought this team were going to be good with Ja Morant. Ja Morant is so far beyond the real deal. It's not even funny. I think he's underrated at this point. Just probably because of how hyped Zion is, Ja Morant is excellent. I'm excited about the Grizzlies and have the Timberwolves. They might be the biggest mystery in the league to me in terms of I don't know if they're going to be horrible this year or solid or what. I have no idea.
The T-Wolves?
Yeah, and a lot of it is Anthony Edwards. Like I just don't.
Yes. But here's the thing that's concerning, and it's not his fault, right? But all the stuff that's happened with Karl Anthony Towns this offseason, I guess he said that he's had 6 or 7 family members die from COVID. And there were some comments that came out where, like, basketball's not the same. Because I think, like, he was so close. I think his mom was one of them, I'm pretty sure.
He lost his mom, yeah.
Yeah. And he's, like, so close with her, and she was, like, his biggest fan. I think there was some stuff that, like, the game's not the same. It's not the same being out there without these. So, I just wonder, in a year like this where things are so different and they're going to be playing, for some people, being back in the game is the thing that you need to take your mind away from all the other stuff. But then on the other side, it could be the complete opposite, right? Now, not only is he playing every day and being around this team, but now he also doesn't have his a lot of his family and the people that he was closest with to go back. So it's just, that's the thing that, to me, it's like, if he's not 100% right, then this team literally has no chance. Mm-hmm. Which, again, with all of his extenuating circumstances, what can you do?
Right.
That's not any fault of his own. We know what the talent is. But, yeah, I don't know, man. Obviously, Anthony Edwards is a big thing. And I think I will say this about I talked about how the rookie class will be better than people think. Everyone's got to give Anthony Edwards some time because he's a really good scorer, but I think as the first pick, there's going to be we talked about this before the show, how I said, like, LaMelo is going to end up being way better than Lonzo in people's eyes because LaMelo in a bad draft was supposed to be the first pick, slips to the third or fourth pick, goes to Charlotte, better situation. It's just like all these things come together, and I think LaMelo, because of the situation, less pressure, whatever, is going to be looked at. Anthony Edwards, as the first pick in the draft, to a team that hasn't been good very, very for a long time, that desperately needs a wing scorer, that there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to score a lot right away. Give him time because he's going to be chucking, man. And he's going to have nights like this, like 4-14, 1 of 7. But he's also going to have some nights, if he's as good as I think he could be as a scorer, he's going to get you 30 some nights this year. I think he's going to have a real up and down year. And because of that, they probably won't be great. But they have, D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Karl Anthony Towns is a very good 3.
That's kind of that's what I'm saying, and that, like, they looks like they have the pieces to be, like, solid, like just a solid team, but I don't know. I think what it's going to come down to is the West is just way too good, and that's what's going to hurt them horribly. Yeah, like their competition night in and night out is going to be brutal.
Yeah, I think it constantly happens, right, with the West, where it's like if you put these guys in the East, it'll be fine. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, but I would say give Anthony Edwards some time because I think of the guys, he has one specific thing that he needs to be able to do, and teams know that. So it's going to take a bit, I think, for him to be the scorer that he can be. But he took 4 free throws. I think getting to the line will help him if he can develop that a little bit more. 2 more games from tonight we can go through real quick. Pacers, Cavs. Not,
My only takeaway from this is Dante Exum with 23 for the Cavs. Kind of a forgotten guy. I mean, he flashed a little bit before he got hurt. Maybe he's a guy that surprises a ton of people this year.
I actually had 2 takeaways from the Cavs, and neither of them were him. But he had some flashes last year. Isaac Okoro looks like the real deal.
He does. Yes, he did. Yeah.
He's like a little tank too. Like he's like strong and athletic. Mm-hmm. Got to the line 10 times, which is great. 1 for 1 from 3. His shot doesn't look great, but if he can just make a couple here and there, he looks like the real deal.
I slapped $5 on him this afternoon for Rookie of the Year as a little his odds are so good.
He's going to play a shit.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's going to get stats for sure.
And my other takeaway was, did we know that Thon Maker signed with the Cavs?
Oh man, I was going to text you this too. We talked about how Thon Maker was out there, and it's like, take a flyer on this guy. Like, But no, I don't think we ever addressed Thon Maker going to the Cavs. It went way under the radar. That's exactly the type of team that should be signing Thon Maker, and giving him minutes, honestly. I mean, this year, if you're the Cavs, you're going to be brutally bad. So just give Thon Maker some minutes.
Wait a minute. Did we know that JaVale McGee was on the Cavs?
I did not know that either.
I didn't. Whoa. Okay. Well, go Cavs. Colin Sexton, Kevin Porter, Chetty Osman, Kevin Love, none of them played. So I would say don't get used to like Dante Exum playing major minutes, because once everyone's playing, guys are going to fall out of the rotation. Like Dylan Windler looks like a really interesting player. He's really long. He's like 6'7", and he can shoot it. So, I mean, maybe he'll get some more minutes, but a lot of these guys that we saw getting major minutes for this team, I don't know that they will. As far as the Pacers, TJ Warren and Miles Turner still didn't play. Watching them play, I'm thinking maybe just keep continuing to try to move on from Miles Turner. I like Domantas Sabonis at the 5. He's really skilled. And I think once TJ Warren comes back, you could play like a smaller lineup with him at the 4. And then you're really dangerous. Brogdon looks good. I think Aaron Holiday might be playing well enough to play his way into the starting lineup for them eventually. Oladipo still looks a little slow and not quite right. So if he's not right, then I don't know. I just don't know where what their ceiling really is.
I'm with you. Their ceiling depends entirely on Victor Oladipo. They're going to be a solid team. Like they're definitely, but honestly, if he's not quite right, it would not shock me to see them miss the playoffs. I don't know if that's crazy,
well,
but
I
think
guess
the back of the East is a little bit stronger than last year, and like I don't know, maybe I'm underrating Sabonis a little bit too much. The Pacers just don't impress me. I've never been high on Miles Turner.
Yep.
I just think this is a team, and especially with the new head coach, they could be one that slips considerably.
I would say one thing that was different about them in this game, at least what I saw in the first quarter, they are flying around, chucking up 3. They lost that game, but I think they were up at one point in the first quarter like 26-6 or some like big number, and they hit like a bunch of threes right off the bat. So, which is different. Nate McMillan didn't really play that way. So
I mean, maybe they'll be just at least more exciting to watch.
Yeah. Last game of the night, and we'll wrap up here. Suns Jazz just finished up as we've been on the air. It was Chris Paul's debut for the Suns. He played 17 minutes, 5 points, 6 assists. You see there, Book had 27, 11 of 17 from the field. Jazz. I keep wondering, like, look at Rudy Gobert, 11 points, 20 rebounds.
20 boards. Oh, my God.
Yeah. My question constantly for the Jazz is, like, all right, when are they going to fall apart? Because it seems like inevitable. Like, they're just not. Donovan Mitchell was great in the playoffs, and he's a really high-level player. He's obviously a really, top 30 maybe, right, player in the NBA.
Oh, definitely top 30, yeah.
Well, I don't know. Where did ESPN have him?
I don't know. I'm confident he's top 30, I think.
But like the rest of the team, they just don't look like a team that scares me, like at all, especially in the West. But they're always a playoff team. So I wonder where they're gonna. And then like watching this game with Chris Paul on the floor, I'm like, the Suns are better than the Jazz with Chris Paul. I think it's hard to say, but I think they are.
I do too. And again, we've harped on this a lot. Really, a lot has to do with DeAndre Ayton. Like, we know they're going to be better with Chris Paul, but if they're going to be really, really good, DeAndre Ayton's going to have to be just flat out better than he was last year.
Also, Jay Crowder didn't play, Dario Saric didn't play, Cam Johnson didn't play. That's all 3 of their power forwards. So
right, and
that's a big deal for DeAndre Ayton. Definitely. Having any of those guys, like Jay Crowder was a great shooter for the Heat last year. Cam Johnson is a great shooter in general, and Saric is just a sort of a point forward type. So he changes the game for Ayton. All 3 of them would change the game for Ayton. Jalen Smith's the kid they took in the first round this year, who also is supposed to be a decent stretch for, but he's a rookie. So
this team might have some sneaky depth as well. I mean,
more, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but I'm with you with the Jazz, where it's just like they're almost underwhelming because we know what they are, like they're going to be a good team. They're going to get to the playoffs. And then in the playoffs, they're probably not going to have the best guy on the floor. Donovan Mitchell's great, but he's not in the playoffs, he's not going to be the best player on the floor almost ever, I don't think.
Right.
And that could be what they are for the next 3 to 4 years. It just seems like they're that poster child for a team in the NBA that's just like toiling in mediocrity.
Right.
They're above mediocre, but they're just not going to get a ring anytime soon.
No, absolutely not. All right, tomorrow night, or Tuesday night, I should say. I got to start referencing it by like the day instead of tomorrow, today, because people can be, who knows when they're listening. Plus, like, what is time, right? You know,
that's a good point. Yeah.
But Tuesday, December 15th, we will be streaming probably a little later than today. It's a 3-game slate, but you have Celtics, Sixers, you have Spurs, Rockets. James Harden will be playing in that game, and then you have Warriors, Kings, which maybe we'll just go live during that game because, we'll go live like around midnight and record. That game will be heading into the fourth quarter by then. But really, we'll be. I think. Well, for you, obviously, we get to watch the Sixers, and then for the rest of the world, we get to see James Harden play for the Rockets.
Yeah,
so,
maybe I'll watch a little bit of James Harden, I guess. But Joe, you know what Tuesday the 15th marks, right?
1 week until the
1 week.
Until the start of the season.
I didn't think you were going to get that. 1 week until actual.
No, I knew exactly what it was because I have a very important 1 week out from the season email that I have to send tomorrow.
Gotcha.
So we'll be back tomorrow for the live stream or tonight, tomorrow, whenever you're listening to this.
What is time?
Exactly. What is time? Look, we move differently over here.
Oh.
This is the podcast that moves differently. So we'll be back to recap the 3-game slate. Thank you all for watching or listening. Hit the like button, leave your comments, subscribe, rate, and review, and we will see you tomorrow. Later.